For years, the story of CanYaman and Demet Özdemir has fascinated fans around the world. Their connection began on the set of Turkish, where the chemistry between them was so intense, so undeniable, that it blurred the lines between fiction and reality. Every look, every smile, every tender moment on screen left audiences wondering, was it just acting, or was something real blossoming behind the cameras? That question has never truly gone away. And now, in a moment that shocked even his most loyal fans, CanYaman himself broke the silence with words that carried the weight of longing, regret, and heartbreak. "Demet, you're the missing piece in my life." The confession came during an interview that was supposed to be about his career. The host asked him about his successes in Italy, his role in Sandokan, his international fame. Can answered with his usual confidence, but when the conversation turned to personal life, something shifted. His voice softened, his eyes grew heavy, and for the first time in a long time, he let his guard down. "People see the projects, the lights, the glamour," he said. "But inside, sometimes there is an emptiness. And there's only one person who ever filled that space. Demet." The audience was stunned. These weren't the polished words of a celebrity controlling his image. They were raw, unfiltered emotions spilling out, catching even Can himself off guard. Social media exploded within minutes. Clips of his words flooded TikTok and Instagram, accompanied by fan edits, slow-motion videos, and emotional music. Hashtags like #CanDemetForever and #MissingPiece trended worldwide. For fans who had never stopped believing in their story, this moment was the confirmation they had waited years to hear. But it was also more than just a romantic confession. It was an admission of vulnerability. CanYaman, known for his strength, charisma, and larger-than-life persona, revealed the side of himself that struggles with loneliness and regret. And in doing so, he reminded everyone why his story with Demet has always felt different. It wasn't just about fame, it was about something real, something fragile, something that refuses to be forgotten. To understand why these words struck so deeply, we need to revisit the timeline of Can and Demet's journey. When Turkish first aired, it didn't just make them stars, it made them symbols of love. The chemistry between them was so natural that fans across Turkey, Italy, Spain, and beyond became convinced they were soulmates. They were spotted together at events, their body language hinting at something more than just friendship. But as often happens in the world of celebrities, rumors, pressures, and professional choices created a wall between them. When Can moved to Italy, pursuing international projects and building a new life abroad, the distance between them grew. Demet, meanwhile, focused on her career in Turkey, starring in dramas, expanding her name, and even entering a marriage that made headlines but never truly silenced speculation about her heart. The public narrative suggested they had both moved on. And yet, every now and then, there were subtle signs that neither had fully closed that chapter. A song lyric in Demet's story, a quiet glance in Can's interviews, the way their names always resurfaced together in gossip magazines. So when Can declared publicly that Demet was his missing piece, it felt like a culmination of years of whispers and unspoken truths. He wasn't just speaking to her, he was speaking to millions of fans who had carried their story like a secret hope. Sometimes, he continued in the interview, we make choices, we follow paths, but life has a way of reminding us of what truly matters. And for me, that reminder is always her. These words weren't rehearsed. They weren't part of a marketing plan. They were the kind of words that slip out when emotions can no longer be contained. And that's why they resonated so deeply. In a world where celebrities carefully control every detail of their image, Can's confession felt like a rare crack in the facade, a glimpse of the truth hiding beneath the spotlight. The aftermath was immediate. Fans across the globe flooded social media with emotional reactions. Some wrote messages directly to Demet, "He still loves you, don't let this chance slip away." Others made emotional video edits of their favorite Turkish moments, overlaying Can's words, "You're the missing piece." Even international media outlets picked up the story, calling it one of the most unexpected celebrity confessions of the year. But the most intriguing silence came from Demet herself. While the world was buzzing with Can's words, Demet made no official statement. She didn't deny, she didn't confirm. Instead, she posted a simple photo on Instagram, a sunset, with no caption. Fans immediately flooded the comments, interpreting it as a sign, a quiet acknowledgement, perhaps even an emotional response. "She knows," one fan wrote. "This is her answer." Another added, "The sunset means endings, but also new beginnings." Behind the scenes, insiders whispered that Demet was deeply moved by Can's confession. She didn't expect him to say it out loud, one source claimed. But she always knew he carried those feelings. Whether or not those whispers are true, one thing is undeniable: Can's words have changed the narrative. What was once a closed chapter is now wide open, full of new possibilities and hopes. For Can himself, the confession was more than just a headline, it was a release. In his own words, "Sometimes we carry things inside us for so long, and it eats at us. Saying it out loud doesn't fix everything, but it makes you feel free. And the truth is, I miss her. I always will." As the dust settles, the world is left with one burning question: what happens next? Will Demet respond directly? Will Can take another step toward reconciliation? Or will this confession remain a bittersweet reminder of what could have been? Fans are divided, some believe this is the beginning of a new chapter, while others fear it's simply an emotional outpouring that will fade with time. But one thing is certain, the love story of CanYaman and Demet Özdemir is far from over in the eyes of the public. Every move they make will now be scrutinized, every post, every interview, every subtle gesture. And perhaps that is both the beauty and the curse of their connection. It belongs not only to them, but to millions who have lived through their story as if it were their own. Can's emotional plea, "Demet, you're the missing piece in my life," will be remembered as one of his most vulnerable moments. It wasn't about drama, fame, or headlines. It was about a man baring his soul, admitting that despite all his success, all his glory, something essential was missing. And in naming her, he gave the world a glimpse of his deepest truth. Maybe that's why fans still hold on so tightly. Because beyond the screen, beyond the glamour, beyond the scandals, what remains is a simple truth: love leaves marks that time and distance cannot erase. And for CanYaman, that mark is named Demet. When CanYaman uttered those unforgettable words, "Demet, you're the missing piece in my life," it wasn't just an ordinary confession, it was a declaration that reignited memories long buried beneath the noise of fame and success. To many, it felt like time had rolled back to the golden days of Erkenci Kuss, when every stolen glance between them carried more passion than 1,000 scripted lines. Back then, fans were convinced that what they were seeing on screen was only a fraction of what was happening behind closed doors. And perhaps, Can's confession was the silent confirmation they had been waiting for all along. Behind the cameras, insiders often whispered that their bond went far deeper than just colleagues. They would laugh between takes, share inside jokes, and sometimes even linger on set long after filming had ended. There were moments when crew members would catch them exchanging quiet looks that seemed to speak volumes. None of this was ever officially confirmed, of course, but anyone who has seen the way they looked at each other could tell something powerful was there. Over the years, that something turned into a mystery that neither of them dared to solve. Can's move to Italy changed everything. He became a household name there, adored by fans and courted by producers. He embraced a new life, new projects, and new fame. Yet, every time his name appeared in the press, Demet's name wasn't far behind. The Italian press itself often linked them, sometimes even more than Turkish media did, because they knew the magic of their story was too big to ignore. For Demet, life took a different turn. She explored roles that challenged her as an actress, pushing her career forward. But her personal life became a battlefield of speculation. Her marriage was a headline, her divorce an even bigger one. Through it all, fans kept repeating the same sentiment: she belongs with Can. And while Demet never entertained those rumors publicly, her silences, her poetic Instagram posts, and her subtle choices seemed to leave the door slightly open, as if she, too, wasn't ready to erase the past completely. This is why Can's confession struck like lightning. He wasn't just talking about love. He was talking about destiny, about unfinished business, about the kind of connection that defies distance, time, and even heartbreak. His vulnerability tore down the walls he had built around himself, showing the world that the confident star was, at his core, just a man longing for the woman he once held close. And the fans, oh, the fans, turned into warriors of hope overnight. Hashtags weren't enough anymore. They started campaigns, begging for a reunion, tagging both stars in every post, creating fan fiction and edits that imagined what their lives would look like if they found each other again. In a way, Can's words gave life to a fantasy that fans had never stopped dreaming about. But what about Demet's heart? That remains the question no one can answer but her. Will she take his words as a sign to reach out, or will she guard herself against the storm of attention that comes with being tied to him again? The sunset photo she posted after his confession might have been nothing more than a beautiful picture, but to millions, it was proof that she had hurt him, that somewhere deep inside, she still cared. Perhaps that is the greatest power of their story, it lives not just in their hearts, but in the collective imagination of millions. Even if they never reconcile, even if their paths never cross again, the idea of Can and Demet will continue to burn like a flame that refuses to die. And maybe, just maybe, that is what Can was truly saying, Demet will always be the missing piece, not only in his life, but in the story of love that defined an era.